Mm-hmm.
So, going to be an interesting show tonight.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to try. I'm going to do my very, very best
Mm-hmm.
to keep my temper under control and my volume down.
Well, I would love
I
for you to
promised
join us.
my wife. She says, "Why do you have to scream and holler?" I said, "Because I'm passionate.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
passionate about my subject matter.
Well, I mean, sometimes you have to be angry to be passionate. I mean, sometimes that's how people express themselves.
I'm Italian. It comes
Yeah.
with the territory.
Hey, Mexican. Hey,
You
passionate
know
is our anger, our voice. That's how we express ourselves.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to
That's how we
get
do it.
darker because you're too fucking light.
Hey, I try, but when I go outside and I try to tan, I burn. I can't help it. I
I
was
have
born
never
that
seen a
way.
Mexican that burnt. It's just crazy.
Me.
You ready to go do this thing?
Let's do this.
Let's
Yes.
do it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Big Mouth. I just had to record Angelo screaming because he had to get out some frustrations.
That wasn't me, kid. That was your husband trying to get out of the house.
As you can see, I'm not joined right now by my co-host, Carrie Jeffries. She will be on shortly. So I asked Angelo to fill in with us tonight. Well, actually, he'll be a guest of ours tonight. Welcome, Angelo, to the show. And
Well,
tonight,
thank you, considering I created this show.
well, the TikTok kind of did, but we had fun with that, doing that. So, but I thank you again for giving me
TikTok
this
did what? What happened?
that TikTok that we
TikTok
did.
did shit. Okay, let's be real clear about a couple things,
Well,
young
we
lady.
did a joke, and
TikTok did shit.
well, it was
TikTok did nothing.
it
This
was a
was in the
joke.
works long before TikTok.
Well,
I got
I
news for you.
thank you for that. So, first of all, thank you again for giving me my show.
Yeah, Go
And
ahead.
as you know, we're here for another episode. Tonight, we'll be discussing autism. And I wanted Angelo to be actually a part of the show as a guest because I know he's very passionate about this and get his opinion. And we're going to show some videos a little bit later and get his opinion about autism. Here in the South, as you know, it happens a lot that kids are misdiagnosed with autism, ADHD. Basically, to me, I think it's because schools are unfunded and they look for excuses to put children on medication, ADHD,
That's a big
OCD.
part of it, Amelia.
Hmm.
That's a big part of it. You mentioned being in the South.
Yes.
There's a very, very good reason why almost all the Southern Belt schools
Yes.
have an autism program.
And ADHD as well, if you've noticed. I don't know if you have or not.
Well, here's the we're going to talk about that because you're going to hear from a doctor who says no, they're not the same.
They're not the same.
And they're not the same. And he's absolutely right. I have a doctor on the show tonight by a videotape, Dr. Ram Karim. He's the only doctor that will tell you the truth about autism, like it or not. And he's even going to tell you the mistakes that he made. I found this doctor and I thought, well, that's a refreshing change of pace. That here's a doctor telling you that he made a mistake.
Oh, wow.
You don't find that. We're talking about being in the South. Here's the problem. And I have to shake my head when I think about this. Because they naturally, they being, the powers that be, the money
Right.
grabbers.
Mhm.
Okay, they give your school and your state money based on the number of autistic children and special needs children that they can enroll.
Right.
The
Correct.
more children they enroll, the more money your school gets. Here's the problem.
Absolutely.
They're lumping everybody into the autism basket
Mhm.
when they're not.
No.
A special needs child is not necessarily autistic. An autistic child is not necessarily developmentally disabled. They're not the same.
Mhm.
They've
Correct.
never been the
Mhm.
same.
No.
The problem, Amelia,
Mhm.
is that they think that Southern people are stupid and
Correct.
don't ask questions. And guess
Mhm.
what?
Right.
For the most part, they're right.
Mhm.
They don't ask questions. I'm not saying they're stupid, but they should speak up, and they don't. They accept what, if they hear it from an official, they believe it.
Mhm.
Where here in the Northeast, we don't believe nothing anybody says,
Right.
you know, unless a lightning bolt comes down from heaven.
Yes. Yes.
And then
Exactly.
even then they question it,
Yes, because
you know?
back when I was in middle school, it's called junior high here, but up north it's called middle school. They
Well,
try
we
to
call
put
it junior high, yeah.
me in a reading class for people that were, I guess, slow learners, and I was like, "What am I doing
Mhm.
here? I don't belong in slow learners class. I can read very well, and
Yeah,
I can say acknowledge and these
right.
words." And the teacher was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I don't know. They just tried
Yeah.
to fill your class, I guess."
And that's the question. What are you doing? And that's my problem
Mhm.
with the basket called autism. Because
Mhm.
everybody, I say everybody, meaning the
Mhm.
officials, the authorities, the Board of Education,
Mhm.
uh, the United States Department of Education, they
Mhm.
lump all of this under this umbrella, this basket of autism, and it's
Correct.
not. And
Mm-mm.
we're going to talk about that. Let's
Right.
talk about
Mhm.
here we go.
Oh, we got
Here we
somebody in the
go.
chat room.
This is Kugli. Okay, I love that name, Kugli.
Mhm.
Autism is simply heavy metal poisoning, particularly mercury. Well,
Mhm.
you're partially right, Kugli. You are partially right. One of the contributing factors to autism is heavy metal poisoning. You say heavy metal, what are we talking about? Mercury, lead, particularly
That
mercury
yes.
and lead.
Mhm.
Now, there's supposed to be no more lead being used. Guess what, folks? Big pharma, big corporations, big paint companies, they don't have to listen to the rules
No.
that everybody else has to follow. You know why? Because they can afford to pay their way out of shit.
Oh,
But
yes, they can.
Kukli is absolutely right. Mercury, lead, arsenic, by the way, is a metal.
Mhm.
Okay. These kinds of things are absolutely contributing factors. The other thing she says, I'm guessing, I'm assuming that you're a she. I'm saying she. I
Mhm.
was diagnosed with Asperger's, and since detoxing, I have less of the physical symptoms. It's all a matter of cleansing the system, and we're going to
Yes.
talk about it. You're going to hear the doctor talk about that.
Mhm.
Mercury is found in the flu shot. There's another place you're going to find, actually, a couple of other places you're going to find mercury
Mhm.
that may surprise you. Fish is one.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's heavy in it.
Chicken is another. Why chicken? Because mercury makes up part of the steroids that they pump chicken with to make them plump and fat.
Mhm.
Okay. Aluminum is in all shots. You're absolutely right. And urine therapy can detox. And we can talk
Mhm.
about that if you want, Kukli, because
Mhm.
I know a lot about urine therapy. One of the things that we will do tonight is we're going to separate the fact from the fiction. We're going to separate the myth from the
Mhm.
rumor.
Right.
Okay. Speculation is one thing, all right? If anybody can speculate as to what has happened, but when you have a doctor come on tell you what has happened, then you don't need to speculate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Amelia, you
Yes.
came to this subject matter, you and Carrie.
Yes.
Why did you pick this particular subject?
Well, I believe that Carrie is the one that has a child that was diagnosed with autism,
Oh, that's right. You remember
and
talking about it.
my child, my son, who's now passed away, was diagnosed with ADHD, and he the symptoms are very very similar. And actually, today I had a parent that was actually uh, her child is in behavioral health. She actually adopted him as her grandson. Her his parents have now passed away, and
Hmm.
she told me to get this: the school has been emailing her pretty much every day that her 8-year-old grandson has been getting up from class, going to sit in any desk he wants every day, and then getting up, going to sit down, getting up, sit down,
Yeah,
pretty much every day, and gets out of class. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, they give him methylphenidate, they give him other medication, they give him clonidine. And I'm
yeah.
like, well, why? She says, because he doesn't behave himself. I
Could
said,
not. First of all, none of that works. All right,
and I
and
said,
it's been proven not to work.
mm-hmm,
Let me explain why that child is
mm-hmm,
getting up and walking around.
mm-hmm,
Because autism is a behavioral issue.
mm-hmm,
It's not a mental issue. It's
exactly.
behavioral. You've
Mm-hmm,
got to change well, it's mental to some degree.
mm-hmm,
In that you change the mental outlook by changing the behavior,
right.
and you change the behavior by changing the mental outlook.
Mm-hmm,
They feed off of each other, Amelia.
mm-hmm,
You're going to hear Dr. Ram Kalim tonight. He's going to talk about that.
mm-hmm.
So you have experience. Can I let me ask you a question?
Sure.
I'll never ask you this.
Absolutely.
The child you had that passed away was a boy.
Boy, yes.
Okay, how old?
When he passed away,
Yeah,
he was 33.
33 when he passed.
Mm-hmm,
Did he have? I'm going to ask you an important question.
mm-hmm.
Did he have the symptomology of autism in his 20s and 30s?
Not really. I mean, I think it was just
That's
more
what
of
I
a
was
him
looking
being
for.
hyper, like he was.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm,
exactly what I'm looking for.
mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Um, and Kukli says, yes, heavy metals affect the
Mm-hmm,
brain. We absolutely know. You know
yeah.
why? Here's why. The brain is electric.
Mm-hmm,
Okay. I want everybody to think in terms of a car.
mm-hmm,
Okay. A car. Your body is a car. Your brain is the battery. It's the electric mechanism that supplies the body. Okay. Now, if you short circuit that battery, what's going to happen? The car's not going to start right.
no.
Okay. The same thing. You're doing the same thing to the brain with these metals. It's short circuiting the electricity in the brain. Why? Because it's metal. Okay. It's like sticking your finger in a light socket. You don't want to do that, do you?
No,
Because there were
absolutely you don't, because it's
no.
gonna like.
There are families who have cured kids autism by yes.
Mm-hmm,
And thank you, Kook. Oh my God, thank you, Kookley, for being here tonight.
mm-hmm.
Remarkable. Oh, you are. You're going to stay with us tonight. I got news
Yeah,
for you.
and also too, it's
Absolutely.
as he was getting older, we could see a difference, and also the way you're eating, the way they said to feed him certain foods, and of course, we
Hmm.
would do that, and it just he grew pretty much out of that, and today I even asked the lady, the behavior health, I said, "Are you there physically, or are you just getting the email?" She goes, "I'm just getting emails." I said, "Well,
Yeah.
do you believe what they're telling you?" And
Here's our
hi,
Carrie, the Panda
hi,
Queen.
Carrie. And she says, "Well,
Hello.
I
She
have to
joins us. I
believe."
was just about to ask you a question too. You came in just at the right time. We're talking about
Yay.
autism, of course. You were one of the people.
Oh,
Oh,
You
sorry.
yes,
were
yes.
one of the people that suggested the show.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. We're talking about we have a young person. I'm saying I don't know if it's a male or female. I'm saying a
Mhm.
young woman, but we
Okay.
have a person in the chat room named Kukli, and she knows an awful lot about autism. Now, I don't know if this, again, I don't know male or female. It's just a
She's a
name
lady.
Okay.
and valuable information. Here's what I want to ask you, Carrie,
Hmm.
and welcome to the show. Again, this is you and Amelia tonight.
She's a lady.
Kukli is a lady. Thank you. I very good. I'm famous for calling people, young lady.
Okay.
Could be an old man back
It
here going, young lady. Um, but you and I talked about this a few weeks ago, a couple of
Mhm.
weeks ago.
right.
This,
Hmm.
um, when the school system came to you and said, Miss Jeffries, we think your child may be autistic. What was your reaction, or did you know beforehand?
I kind of knew beforehand. My 14-year-old, see, my 14-year-old has almond shaped eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell by looking at their eyes whether they have autism or not. So I can show you my 2-year-old, which is behind me
Uh-huh.
on the floor back there. But um,
Right.
they thought that she might have a touch of autism because my 14-year-old has autism, which is Asperger's. And
No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
so she
We're
does.
going to talk about that. Nope.
Yep.
I found something out, boy, big time. Big time.
Yeah.
Asperger's is not autism.
Oh, I know.
Let's clear that up right now. Asperger's is not now, never has been autism. First thing Kukli said, the first thing Kukli said was, I was diagnosed with Asperger's. Well, guess what? I don't think Kukli ever had Asperger's. I think she may have been autistic, but they diagnosed her wrong. You're going to hear a doctor tonight, Carrie.
They say Asperger's is autism, but
It's not. You're
Mm-mm.
going to hear a doctor tell you, he's going to tell you that he misdiagnosed people with autism that didn't have autism.
Ooh.
But he's going
Mhm.
to tell you that. The only doctor you'll meet that's honest enough to say, I screwed up. And this is what he's doing to
I've been-
help change things over,
hmm.
you know? Um, my soul is non-I art. Okay, I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
Non-binary. Oh,
Oh,
you're one of them. Oh God, you're gonna lose me. You're gonna lose me there, Kukli. Talking crazy. You're talking that Demi Lovato shit. That
wait a minute.
non-binary crap.
Kukli? Is
Yeah, you
Mhm.
know that person?
that my daughter? Are you my daughter?
Is that? Oh my God, is that your daughter?
I don't know.
My soul is none.
I
All right.
feel like it is.
Kukli, are you Carrie's daughter? Is this Carrie's daughter?
It better not be.
She says no. Okay.
You
Oh, okay.
better.
she's she's playing a trick on you, and she's saying no.
Oh,
Because my
okay.
daughter does that stuff too.
Well,
I
let's
was
before we talk about
Mhm.
autism, we have to understand what autism is.
Mhm.
So let's talk about what autism spectrum disorder (ASD) is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. Partly true. Partly true.
partly true.
It's not completely true. They call it ASD, okay? Autism spectrum disorder. They call it spectrum because you've got three bands.
Three
You've got
different.
the inner band,
Mhm.
the center band, and the outer band, kind of like a rainbow, right?
Right. Yep.
Mhm.
The outer band of autism, the autism spectrum, is the fringe of autism,
Mhm.
Asperger's,
Ooh,
um,
didn't want to sneeze.
ADD,
Mhm.
ADHD, attention deficit,
Yes.
hyperactivity,
Mhm.
all that stuff. Okay, and
Right.
that's on the outer rim. The
Mhm.
inner core of that band is basically the essence of autism,
Right.
which is lack of attention, um,
Yep. My daughter.
doing things on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of different characteristics we're going to talk about tonight. Cooley says, when they tested me, they did not test for heavy metal toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big problem because one of the biggest issues
It's one of the big.
concerning autism is the influx of heavy metals like lead,
Mm-hmm.
like mercury, like arsenic, which is a heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The three biggest the contributors to autism, most certainly mercury, which is in more things than people know.
A lot of things.
Oh,
Steak.
yeah.
Every piece of fish,
Yep.
every piece of chicken you eat
That's
has
crazy.
mercury in it because
Mhm.
it is part and parcel of the steroids they use to pump up chickens to make them fat. Okay.
That's your good juiciness. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Gotta have
So
that.
here's what they say. They say autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disability caused by the differences. Then they're partly right. Partly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People with ASD often have problems with social communication and interaction. That's true. And restricted or repetitive behavior. And that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's why. They do things repeatedly because they feel comfort in it. It's their comfort zone.
Yes.
You'll see somebody, for example, I saw a young man today with autism. Particularly, he had Asperger's syndrome. Okay. He was fixated. He was fixated on a pair of glasses. And there's no particular reason, just he was fixated on a pair of glasses.
Mm-hmm.
He had to wear these glasses, even
Wow.
though he doesn't wear glasses. Now, why? Why would somebody be fixated on glasses who doesn't wear glasses? Because it was new. It was different. It was unusual.
Yep.
He saw somebody else that had glasses and he wanted to know what it was like to wear glasses. And he wore them all day.
Wow.
Okay. This is what we're talking about. It's partly mental, but it's a lot of physical.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is behavior modification.
Yeah.
Behavior modification.
A lot of it, really.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
My
So
daughter.
what did they tell you, Carrie? What did they tell you when you sat down? I'm guessing with the guidance counselors or school officials or whatever.
Well, it wasn't really like started there. So my husband's aunt, she used to work in the social services and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
She did it for many years.
Right.
And she actually looked at my daughter when she was little, and she's like, and she was about 2, about my younger daughter's age, about 2. And she looks at her and she says, I think she's got autism. And I said, why? She said, you can see it in her eyes. And I looked at her eyes. I mean, of course, I'm mom, so I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
look and say,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I said, my daughter ain't got no autism. Well, when she got old enough, we sent her to a program, and I don't know if it's the same thing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Program that her pediatrician recommended us go to, and it's called Teach.
Yep.
And we had to sign her up for it, and they test for motor skills and speech, and
Mm-hmm.
just talk to them in a room and see how they interact and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Daughter, when she was little, just like this, she would roll her hands like this a lot, like roll her hands.
Yeah. Repetitive behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when she'd get mad, she'd go, and she
Yeah.
would just, I mean, that's what my little
Mm-hmm.
daughter does, but she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just a lot of the same, stuff over and over
Yeah.
again. Just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of behavior than anything. So it
Yeah.
wasn't really developmental. It was acting out. And we went to therapists, behavioral clinics,
Mm-hmm.
speech. We've been to speech therapies, all kinds of stuff. And my daughter's a toe walker because of autism. So
Mm-hmm.
makes it a little worse. So now she's 14 and she doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, she won't walk flat-footed, but she won't walk flat-footed. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard, but she does take medicine.
Can I ask you a question? Is she pigeon-toed?
No.
Interesting.
She's not
I asked that question for a reason.
She can walk flat-footed, but because she's walked for 14 years this way, if she does walk...
Okay. And you just proved what I said a moment ago. They find their comfort zone. Now, that may look uncomfortable to you.
Yeah.
But your daughter evidently found a comfort zone in that. So I want everybody to look at something here. This is Dr. Joshua Kirsch. He's a psychologist, a behavioral psychologist. Take a look at him.
Autism diagnosis rates have skyrocketed. Scientists still aren't sure what causes autism, but parents and activists have invented some pretty crazy ideas. Television, allergies, antibiotics, GMOs, cell phones, gluten, and of course, life-saving vaccines. But in the scramble to explain the autism epidemic, we've forgotten one important fact. Autism is not actually on the rise.
One advocate calls this a national epidemic in need of a national plan.
More kids than ever before are being diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders.
There is a huge autism tsunami that is going to hit the state budget if they don't take steps to ensure that the kids are getting treatment.
Autism was virtually unheard of back in 1975, when the diagnosis rate was something like 1 in 5,000. But by 2002, that number had jumped to 1 in 150. Right now, it's closer to 1 in 68. Now, that looks a lot like an autism epidemic until you really dive into the numbers. Scientists recently mapped out the number of children diagnosed with autism between 2000 and 2010 and found the telltale signs of an epidemic. Rates of diagnosis had increased by a factor of 5. But then they also found something strange. Even as the autism rates went up, the number of children enrolled in special education programs remained virtually the same for 10 years. Where were all the autistic children going? If there's an autism epidemic and a 5-fold increase in autism cases since the year 2000, why don't we have significantly more children enrolled in special education? Back in 1975, physicians diagnosed thousands of children every year with intellectual disabilities or learning disabilities, even though they weren't exactly sure what was wrong with them. Those children entered the special education system just like any other child.
And that's what I said about 20 minutes ago, Amelia.
Right.
They lumped them into this basket, this special ed basket, call it autism. Okay, just lump them in there and we'll get state funding and we'll take care of everybody. Problem is they don't take care of anybody but their pockets.
Exactly.
So listen to Dr. Hirsch.
Child with a severe psychiatric diagnosis. Later, as we began to learn more about autism, those children who were once called intellectually disabled were slowly being diagnosed as autistic. In other words, we always had this many autistic people in the United States. We just didn't call it autism. And now that we have a better understanding of autism, we diagnose it more often. There is no autism epidemic. Higher rates of autism diagnosis are largely due to a shift in...
Do you agree with that statement, either one of you?
That there's not an autism epidemic?
That's what he said.
I mean, I don't think there is one. I think that a lot of kids do get misdiagnosed for other things.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too, just to get the school funding for something so they could fund their sports program.
Put your finger on it. And I think you absolutely put your finger on it. It all has to do with school funding. We talked about Carrie. We talked about that last week.
Yep, it's true.
Your kid is making money for that school. Do I personally believe that there's an autism epidemic? Not on your fucking life. I don't believe it. Absolutely not. Not for one moment do I believe that. Let's listen to Dr. Hirsch.
Classification, not gluten or vaccines. And if anyone tells you otherwise, that's junk science.
Is that your baby you had there?
Yep.
There she is.
Oh, look at that little cutie.
Say hi. Say
I have a 16-year-old granddaughter who from the time she could stand
Mm-hmm.
didn't speak to anyone, didn't communicate with anyone,
She doesn't talk.
would scream at the top of bloody murder at the top of her lungs.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter
Mm-hmm.
never took her to be diagnosed with anything.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to say
Mm-hmm.
that a person was autistic, I would say she is.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Nope.
I can't have any say over it because she doesn't talk to me and her mother doesn't talk to me.
No.
But
No.
what they have done explains all the behavior I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
That's autism at its classic best. Now, let's talk about what Dr. Hirsch said. Okay, what he said basically is we got this big barrel here,
Mm-hmm.
and we got all these different diagnoses in it. We've got Asperger's and autism, and we've got behavioral, behavioral dissension, which basically is dissociative disorder.
Mm-hmm.
We've got people that are, emotionally detached,
Mm-hmm.
calling that autism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, emotional detachment is not autism.
Mm-mm.
It can be something far worse, or it could be nothing at all.
Like that.
It all depends on what you're talking about. Is it a 10-year-old kid, a 5-year-old kid, or a 35-year-old man or woman?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, autism is not exclusive to children.
No, it's not.
It's not exclusive to children at all. We got a woman in our chat room. We have a woman in our chat room. Kukli was diagnosed in 2020.
Stop.
Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to ask Kukli if Kukli. I know this is kind of being personal, but if I send you an invite, can you join us on the show tonight? Would you do that for me? If I'm gonna give her a minute to answer. I would love for her to be on the show with us.
Yeah, and
Because this woman's got some knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
No.
You know?
No.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
I would
we
love
treat
to have
people.
her on the show.
We treat people that are at different ages that say that they're like this, and a lot of
She
times.
says cute kid, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You can
we
mess.
treat people of all ages for different things, and we find too that a lot of people are saying that they are diagnosed with this just to say, they want the medication.
Well, and
a
then
lot of
how
them are that
many?
way.
That's an interesting point you bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I know somebody, since you
Oh,
said,
she's asked a question.
I know somebody, and I'm not going to say their name because I'm
Right.
put their name out there, but I know somebody that was taking a child's medicine.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go to school for the summer because they said it made them calm and nerves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's another thing we're going to talk about. Actually, there's a person here.
People do that.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Kukli, you can join us absolutely. It's going to give you the option to be on camera or not.
Yeah,
you don't have to be on camera to be on the show.
You can turn it off to be like this.
Yeah, you could do like Carrie just did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send Amelia. I'm going to send this to Kukli.
Yeah, that's great. I would love for her to be on our show. That would be fantastic.
Is
All right. I'm sending this link to the chat box. There you go. Click on that link, Kukli. Okay, you see it there. Just click on that link. And then it'll give you the option to.
You don't have to be good with communication. We'll just ask you some questions and you just answer and just be quick for speaking. And trust me, I learned I was not comfortable in front of the camera myself, and I learned.
Millie watched me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I've got two great teachers right here.
I'll tell you what, I would really like I'd really like
my
her
daughter.
to be part of this
I would love for you to
because,
be a part of it as well, right, Carrie? We would love
well,
for her to be a part of it.
if give me a minute, Amelia, please.
Please don't.
I'd like her to be part of this for a couple of reasons, not the least of which she's a woman who can add to this conversation of two other women,
Absolutely.
and I can, back myself out of this and just show the videos that I put together, and I'm going to produce the show for you, of course. But it's I will do. Okay, Amelia, can you give her a hand with that?
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, so Carrie, you and I are going to talk. So here's the interesting thing, though. The biggest problem, as I see it, and having watched, more videos on autism than I care to, it seems to be the biggest issue is what is autism? How do we diagnose it? Are we diagnosing it properly?
Yeah.
How do you get it? Do you get it? Is it biological? Is it external? Is it in your blood? Is it in your genes? Nobody knows. They can't answer that question.
So
What are you? What is your knowledge? What do you know about these questions I've just asked? Which are probably many, but
I have a brother. Let me just say this, and I forgot to tell you about this. I have a brother. He's my half brother, right? So he's my half brother from my dad and my stepmother. He is, I want to say 25. He was born in 96. So I'm going to say 25. He was diagnosed with autism when he was about 6 years old.
Okay.
And when I say he's autistic, I do think that he's autistic. And the reason why I say that is because he didn't grow like he should, like his developmental body, okay, is that of a 5-year-old. So he didn't like develop there. Not only did he not develop there, but he didn't develop there either.
Yeah.
So that as a baby. So his parts didn't come out.
Right. They call that infantile genitalia.
Yep. And his speech is he can talk like an adult. He says words, but the way that he talks sounds like a toddler, like, like a baby talk.
Yeah.
And he's a grown man. He's 25 and he, tall and everything. But when you look at him, you would think that he was a teenage kid.
Yeah.
Because of the way he is.
And again, that's absolute confirmation of what I said earlier, is that autism can affect anyone.
Yeah.
It's not, people think, Carrie, that autism is a child's problem to deal with, the child's disease, and it's really not. It can affect anyone.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, of any age. Ain't that right, Pumpkinhead?
Okay. She's on her boyfriend's
Well, I'll
email.
tell you what. She can. You know what, Amelia? Why don't you do this for me? I would love, Amelia, for you to monitor the chat room.
Okay.
Okay. I can't do that from here because I've got commercial. I'm coming up on a commercial.
Okay.
I've got to do this commercial like right now. So let me do my commercial. Let's do this, and then we will, we'll get back to where we were. Okay.
Okay.
All right, folks, we'll be back right after this. Do you have sweaty balls or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and clean your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0. Your balls will thank you, and so will we. All right.
Right.
All right, you guys, we're back.
Oh, look
Amelia.
at that. She's with her mama.
Amelia, you lost half your face, Amelia. Where'd you go?
I'm right here. I got a different chair is what happened. Um,
Oh, okay.
I got a
I was
comfortable
gonna
chair
say
this
you
time.
you sunk down like 5 feet. Where the hell did you
I
go?
know, right? I'm short.
Oh my goodness. Jeez whiz.
Looks like we got
We have breaking news, guys. Breaking news. Breaking news right now from the
oh
newsroom.
yes.
Film actress Raquel Welch has died at the age of 83.
Oh no.
Yes, this just in. Raquel Welch, known for her scantily clad appearance in the film 1,000,000 Years BC, has
Oh
passed away
no.
at the age of 83, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Have you guys ever seen her perform in a movie? Or she did a
Yes.
famous movie back in the early 1970s, Amelia, called Myra Breckenridge.
Hmm.
That's all I'm going to say. Just Google it.
And I know that she was famous for those bedroom eyes, as they used to say, right?
Yeah, bedroom eyes in the
Hmm.
bedroom body. That was Raquel Welch.
Yes.
Carrie, you have that concentration look on your face. What are you trying to figure out?
I remember her from another movie too. I'm trying to think of
Uh-huh.
what.
I think
Oh
we
my
got.
God, yeah,
I think we got
she's been
somebody
around
in
a
the
long
chat
time. Oh
here.
my God.
Oh,
I
somebody.
remember Legally Blonde. I don't know what part she was in, but she was in that movie.
I think we have somebody in the chat there.
Oh, that's my movie. He don't.
Yeah,
Legally
it's the Dirt Digger.
Blonde, House of Versace.
Uh-huh.
Um. Let's see what else. I'm looking up the movies I know. Let's see.
Yeah, that was an actress. I mean, that was an actress. That was
Oh yeah, yeah,
I've
boy.
seen many places. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, wow, she's been quite a few
Yeah,
movies.
Yeah.
that, ladies and
Wow.
gentlemen, that's when you can call an actress, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were movie stars back then.
yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, we
Yeah.
we wish the Hollywood community, I guess, how would you want to say it? We wish them our condolences, sincerely. We certainly give our prayers and our condolences to our family and our
Mhm.
we grieve with you, of course.
That's horrible.
I will tell
Mhm.
you though that she was a woman who didn't let anything stop her.
No.
Let's talk a little bit about this autism.
Mhm.
So here's what they say. And I read this earlier, but the people with ASD have often have problems with social communication and interaction and restricted or repetitive behaviors.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Yeah.
People with here's another thing.
Mhm.
They said people with ASD may also have different ways of learning,
Yes.
moving, or paying attention. And they should.
Mhm.
Why? Because not everybody is a blanket case.
No, it's not.
Right.
No.
You must treat every case differently on
Yes.
its own merit. If you don't, you end up like Carrie's poor baby or your son, you
Mhm.
know, or
Right.
her brother, where people don't know what to
No.
do.
No.
He was
Because
never. I mean, he would never had treatment either.
mm-mm.
My stepmother,
And that you're making my case
she
for
didn't,
me.
but like she refused to give him medication. And let me tell you this, because of that, he had. We know he had autism, but he also had schizophrenia and bipolar together. And I know this sounds bad to say, and I do have to say it. He killed his mother, not
Mm.
intentionally, but he did. Um,
Okay.
Mhm.
when I so I'll tell you kind of what happened.
You
Shortly,
don't know. We're not going to go into that. We're not going to do that.
it kind of
What we're
ties in,
going to do is discuss
like about
the
control. How autistic kids have that one possession that if you
yeah.
take it from them, it causes them to go into like a battle mode.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's just say she took his phone away, and then
Yeah.
that's he kind of went into.
It's what they call carried the fight or flight mode.
Yes.
That's what they call it, the fight or flight mode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very real. It's
Yeah.
very, very real.
Yes, it is very real.
Amelia, you are going to take over this puppy again. I am going to pull back, and I am going to do what I do best is produce your show.
Okay.
Okay. Because you're in good hands. You got Kukli in there. You got the Dirt Digger. You got my boy Dirt Digger. My man.
Oh, we're good.
Yep.
Yes.
And you got Carrie, Jeffrey, and of course Amelia, the pit bull. Folks, I'm going to jump back here a little bit and produce the show. Okay.
Okay. Yes, and also I think that as you were saying, they have certain things that they hold on to dearly, and that's what that's their, I guess, their blanket.
That's them
Yeah.
because that
Yeah.
pattern. Like my
That.
daughter, 14-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
and this is kind of cute, but kind of like, this is how it shows you that they have possession of things.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's father, so my father-in-law, gave the kids money for Christmas one year, and we happened to be in Crackle Barrel when we did it, and she's seen this little stuffed dog kind of thing. It's like one of the Thai, not babies, like Thai animals, and it was this little dog, and his name happened to be Duke, and I mean he was just as big as nothing, and she wanted that dog.
Oh.
And when you have the money, you go get it, and she bought it. Everywhere she went for, I mean, my husband could probably tell you, I bet 4 or 5 years, about 7, around that time, 7 or so, she carried that dog everywhere. She slept with it. It was so dirty and grungy after a while. We would throw it in the wash. She still would carry it everywhere. And finally, I said, Kayla, we need to replace that one and get a newer dog. No, I don't want that one.
Yeah, they won't do it because that's her security blanket.
And to this day, she'll be 14 in March. She still has that dog, but she doesn't sleep with it. It's in her toy box. Like, so she still has trouble getting rid of things too. Like she has some of her younger toys that she got when she was like 6 and 7 and so on and so forth. And I'm like, why don't you come to your sister? But they're mine.
Yeah.
So she won't do that. She still sleeps with stuffed animals. She has to have things around her, just things like that. And so it's definitely one of those things that I understand because I'm looking at it firsthand. So I do have my brother that has the autism. So I grew up around that before I had my kids. And I didn't understand what it was back then. I just thought he needs his butt tore up.
I know, right?
But I'm young, I'm 37, about to be 37, he's 35. So I would babysit them and I'd be like, no, you're not going to do that. You need your ass tore up.
Yeah.
And as I got older and then I had my own kid, I realized, okay, so this is real stuff. This isn't.
It is.
It
is real stuff. Yeah.
My son has ADHD. The baby, I mean, she doesn't have autism, but I think she has hyperactive because you've seen her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's she's all over the place, but it's I think it's just being a kid. You know what I'm saying? So when my daughter was diagnosed at such a young age, who's to say that at that point she wasn't just being a kid and they were misinterpreting of her actually just being a general child versus now, she's 14 years old. She's been on medication since she was 6. So it's now she has to have it to thrive because your body.
Yeah, my son grew out of that because he was hyperactive and everything. We gave him the medication, and he may have needed it. Maybe he didn't, but he couldn't. He didn't. Maybe learn with it or learn without it. We don't know now, but when he got older, he didn't need it. But he had that special cap, baseball cap that he had to have all the time, and of course, his spouse has it now, but he always had to have that cap, and we understand that. And
I think he was 16 or 17. He took himself off of medicine.
Yeah.
He's He told his grandmother, because he was living with his grandmother at the time. He told his grandmother, he said, "Grandma, I don't like the way this makes me.
Oh, I don't know what
I don't
happened
like.
to her.
I don't like the way this makes me feel."
Mm-hmm.
And he stopped taking it. He was like, "I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not
Right.
doing it." So
Well, I think that we also have this video of this lady that I think she's a teacher, a psychologist that Angela was telling us
Hi, this
about.
is Deb Dunn. I'm the Outreach Director at the Center for Autism Research at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And I am creating another video from the International Meeting for Autism Research being held currently in Toronto. I wanted to talk about one of the sessions that I went to this morning entitled Stability and Predictors of the Developmental Course of ASD from Childhood to Adolescence. It's a study that comes out of the Netherlands, and for me it was particularly interesting because it made me remember back to the very first IMFAR that I attended back in 2009 in Chicago. At that meeting, the big story of the day was about optimal outcome. And optimal outcome referred to individuals who were accurately diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder in childhood, but after intervention and after growing up, no longer met diagnostic criteria. So this particular study looked at individuals who were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder in childhood, and then looked at them again in adolescence to look at how many of those individuals held on to the diagnosis and how many, if any, no longer qualified under DSM-4 for an autism spectrum disorder. What the study found was that 26% of the individuals with high-functioning autism, defined as IQs greater than 70, and indeed the mean IQ of their sample was 95, 26% of individuals with high-functioning autism no longer met diagnostic criteria using DSM-4. I was, when I heard this, quite shocked, to be honest. I think we normally hear of autism spectrum disorders as lifelong conditions that you don't outgrow, and that while individuals certainly improve, that the core deficits of autism always remain difficult for individuals, though they learn how to compensate and they find a niche in society oftentimes and can be quite successful. Whether or not an individual can move off spectrum has been still, even since 2009, up for debate. So using this the same diagnostic criteria, DSM-4, they found that 26% no longer met criteria of the high-functioning autism kids who were diagnosed as children. What distinguished the kids that they found who moved off spectrum was that these children, these adolescents when they were children, had less pragmatic language issues. And they also had more social contact and had less social orientation problems as children. And also, as the IQ increased, so did the likelihood that these individuals would move off spectrum. What was interesting about this study, however, is that even though so many individuals moved off of the autism spectrum, 34% of the 26 who moved off did move to another psychiatric diagnosis. So they're not out of the woods, if you will. It's not that they have magically lost any comorbid conditions or other symptomatology that might be associated or frequently seen with ASD. As a parent, I worry about studies like this that talk about individuals moving off of the autism spectrum, because I wonder what it does for us as parents and also for society in terms of thinking about longer-term consequences. The kids that moved off spectrum, they were looked again at between the ages of 12 and 19 and found not to meet diagnostic criteria. When we're looking at ages 12 to 19, all of the children in the sample were still in a school setting. They had not yet, presumably, transition to work or to higher education, which itself might bring on different challenges that might make certain autism symptoms reappear, if you will.
What do you think
I
about
don't
that?
think that necessarily they have disappeared, but they may have laid dormant for a time and not shown themselves because of good intervention, because of structured environments that have been set up. Even if the individual no longer receives specific supports, there has been likely over time a safe environment established, friendships that have taken quite a while to facilitate, that have developed and blossomed. And I wonder what happens to these individuals once that sense of an environment that they're comfortable with changes and they transition to another stage. So while I find it heartening that many individuals do no longer have so many challenges in their life, I worry that parents may feel like, oh, I can let my guard down. I don't have to worry about employment issues, housing issues, friendship issues, when those things may reappear later. And then society as well may think, well, we don't have to worry as much about employment and other issues. So as a parent, it's a study that I find very interesting, but one that I think needs a lot more research into what happens to these individuals. So the other psychiatric diagnoses, we didn't learn today what those are. Presumably they are ADHD and anxiety issues. But what that means for individuals who lose their diagnosis. Anyway, I think I'll certainly report back if there are more studies that discuss this topic, as it's one that's interesting to me as a parent and as a professional. And stay tuned for more updates later today.
Okay, I think I
Okay,
can
now,
choke that lady. First of all,
did you understand a fucking thing she said?
uh-uh,
By the way,
no.
I'm back because I got a message here
Hmm.
that said, Angelo, please get back there and save this conversation. And that it literally said that, so I had to jump back here.
No,
Carrie,
for
what are
I was
you
I was
looking
wanting
at?
to
What do you
listen to the
keep
whole thing
looking at?
before I.
I'm waiting on my husband to respond because my mom keeps calling and it keeps blocking the screen. And I'm like,
Oh,
leave me alone.
Oh
I've done told her
no.
I'm on a
do you need
podcast.
me to let you go, honey?
No, I think my mom,
Uh-uh.
look, I'm not trying to be hateful, but I think my mom has autism because she doesn't
Oh,
say the word no.
No, I wanted to listen to the whole video before
no,
I
I
even
think your
said
mother has
anything.
ADHD, maybe. Look,
Guys, I said, Mom, please, I'm on live. I'm on a
Uh,
podcast. I'll call you back after.
it,
She's like, okay. And then she calls me right back.
yeah,
it's not that I wanted
No,
to
I'm good.
save this
I told my
podcast,
husband to take care of
people.
it. So, husband, can you
yeah.
call her, please? Thank you.
I said, we'll take care of it, Carrie.
Look, whoever said
Um,
that, I didn't want to save the podcast. I
okay,
wanted
so
everyone
here,
to listen to this
go ahead,
video,
Amelia.
people. Okay?
I understood
Go
what
ahead.
she's saying because I've heard this before.
Hmm.
What
Yeah,
she's saying in
Yeah.
my daughter's IEP meetings.
yeah,
Hmm.
I've been to
exactly.
a bunch of them.
Hmm.
So I understand what she's saying
Hmm.
in the IEP meetings.
Now, let me tell you, you said something so critical, Carrie. I don't think you even realize what you said. IEP
IEP.
it's called an individualized educational program. Now, let
Yes.
me tell you something about that. My daughter,
Like well, they call it plan here, but yeah.
she's
Yeah.
23 now.
Hmm.
All 4 years of high school and all 8 years of grade school, she had IEP.
Mine does too. Yep.
They not one time, see, the school systems here, they're pretty strict. Not once did they diagnose her with autism. What they said was she needs a little extra help. That's all you need. Sometimes all you need is a little extra help
Yeah.
without blowing it out of proportion,
Hmm.
like a fucking atomic bomb and calling it autism or Asperger's or, attention deficit or attention hyperactivity disorder.
Hmm.
That's not what it is. Sometimes, folks, listen to me. Sometimes they just need a little help in math class.
That's it. That's all they need. Just a little
know,
help to
that's all.
help them reach over that little curve that they can
Daughter's in
achieve.
Just
school.
in other words, like Carrie, like something to push him over the hump.
That's
Yeah, I
it.
mean, she's good. I mean, look, let me tell you something. Amelia, you've seen my daughter.
Yes.
I've seen her come into my lives.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever checked out, and I don't want to mention this app, but I've got to just for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever seen her TikTok profiles, she can get on there and edit accounts like nobody's business. She's a master on the computer. She's smart. She'll teach me stuff that
Mhm.
I should be knowing as her parent.
Right.
Like literally, we blocked some programs on her computer
Yeah.
and she found a way around them because she's smart.
Now
At
I
school,
met
she
my
gets bored.
Carrie. You just reminded me of something. I don't know if I told you this, Amelia.
Mm-hmm.
Anita and I go to Wild whatever year on vacation,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
We met a mother of an autistic young girl
Mm-hmm.
and her brother. Now, her brother, here's the interesting thing. The only person she trusted is her brother. He was her caretaker. The
Mm-hmm.
mother had to make the brother the caretaker. Now, listen to this. You reminded me when you said that your daughter's a computer whiz, because this girl,
Mm-hmm.
she's got 5.7 million followers on YouTube.
Wow,
5.7 million.
that's crazy.
Wow.
And all she does is sit in her room all day and crank out video after video after video. And she just sits there from
Wow,
morning to night and just cranks out videos.
that's
She
crazy.
gets in front of a computer
Uh-huh.
and she's like, take me to the fair, buy me roses and blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
But you take her out of her bedroom and
Mm-hmm.
she don't talk, she won't look at you, she'll put her head
Wow.
down. She
Mhm.
want nothing to do with anyone unless or until she's in her room
By
in
herself.
front of her computer. 5.7 mil.
Wow.
I'm not please, I'm not even bullshitting you.
Wow,
Okay. Now,
it's crazy.
it is crazy.
It is
Here's the
crazy.
thing, but Carrie, think about what was Amelia, what we said before, even before
Yeah.
Carrie got here.
Mm-hmm.
Think about there's a fine line between genius and insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a fine line between genius and autism. You've heard this term, and I hate this term.
Mm-hmm.
It's called an idiot savant. Okay.
Yep.
That's what they used to call someone that was so smart but couldn't relate to anybody. They used to call them idiot savants. They were so brilliant, but they couldn't say hi, how are you?
No.
Okay?
Wow.
Like saying hello became a big chore.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Okay? But I'll give you a perfect example of who I'm talking about. His name was John Nash. Did you ever see a movie called A Beautiful Mind?
I heard of it, but I never got to see it.
Russell Crowe
Mm-hmm.
played John Nash. Jennifer Connelly played his wife. It's a movie, if you guys know what I'm talking about. It's called A Beautiful Mind.
Never seen.
And that film is utterly brilliant. It's the essence of autism.
Mm-hmm.
Before they had a name for it, okay? They didn't know what to call it. He was an idiot savant. He was so brilliant that people couldn't relate to him.
Wow.
That's how it is with a lot of people. A lot of people that are misdiagnosed. They don't understand. Who's this? Oh, Ramsey Dunkel. Am I saying that name right?
Dunkel.
Dunkel.
Dunkel, because I screw that name up every week.
It's
I'm sorry, Ramsey. My son has ADHD, but he has helped this stuff, animals around him. And that's another thing. It's the comfort thing. Stuffed animals, a favorite little, like a blanket, like my wife has her Minky. She loves that thing. I wonder if he has Austin. I mean,
autism.
Oh, autism. Yeah, not Austin. I was going to say Austin. Autism. Okay. Ramsey, has your son ever been diagnosed or treated for anything behaviorally? And if you can answer that honestly, I'd appreciate it.
Oh yeah, it's and that lady. The reason I wanted to let that video play is because what she was saying that between the ages of 12 to 19 and then 26%, and then the structure environment. Just because you have a structured environment for somebody doesn't mean anything,
It
because
means nothing.
it means nothing.
Think
And I
about
want
something.
yeah, it
Amelia,
means
think
nothing.
about something.
Hmm.
School is a structured environment.
That's it, exactly.
And most kids with autism fail miserably in school.
It is. They do.
And it's not their fault. It's the teacher's fault because they don't know how to treat
Yes.
the problem.
They don't. Nope.
But they sure fucking take the money, that's for sure.
Because how can you keep a strict structured environment at home just like school? Because school and home are going to be completely different.
North Carolina school system is awful. I absolutely agree with you, Dirt Digger.
Hmm.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was hard for us to keep that
Anything
strict environment.
south of the Mason-Dixon line blows, okay? It's just horrible.
It is.
And I'm not saying that to be prejudiced.
No, it's true.
No,
horrible.
it is true. I mean,
The
Texas
school
was like that.
systems below the Mason-Dixon line
I told
suck.
you,
They really suck.
for the better.
Yeah.
I want you guys to hear from a doctor. I've been waiting all night to play this. His name is Dr. Ram Rakil.
Yeah, I wanted to save the best for last one.
Ram Rakil. I think that's how you say it. Or Rakim.
Rakim. That's it. Rakim.
Dr. Rakim is an amazing doctor because he did something in one of these 3 videos that I've never heard a doctor do. He admitted that he was wrong. Okay? You're going to hear him say himself what happened and what he's doing to rectify it. Let's listen to video number 1. There's 3 videos. They're very short. The first one's about 5 minutes, 3 minutes, then 2 minutes. Let's watch.
Autism and the symptoms and the morbidities that occur in autism. And I want to start by giving you an example. Watch me. I coughed. I had a bout of cough, B-O-U-T, a string of cough. While I was coughing, at the end of my cough, I became short of breath. Sometimes, at the end of a long bout of cough, I may wheeze. While I was doing that, my chest was hurting. And at times, at the end of a bout of cough, I bring up phlegm. The phlegm looks bad. It looks almost like pus. And it has a streak of blood. It has a foul smell. Last night, I had a fever. For the last 10 nights, I've been waking up in the middle of the night with night sweats. And in the last 1 month, I lost 8 pounds of weight. And I'm not trying to lose weight. So, cough, bouts of cough, chest pain, shortness of breath, wheezing, fever, loss of weight, night sweat, they're all symptoms. What could be the diagnosis? The diagnosis could be bronchitis, pneumonia, bronchiectasis, it's a complex lung condition that produces terrible-looking sputum, streak of blood, tuberculosis. I'm an older man. It could be cancer. I'm losing weight. I have night sweats. Those are diagnoses. These are symptoms. I notice a lot of parents in this field that I encounter get confused between diagnosis and symptoms. Many of the symptoms of autism have taken on a life of their own, with words like fine motor coordination disorder, sensory integration disorder, auditory integration disorder, sleep delay, sleep disorder, expressive language disorder, hyperactivity, hypotonia, developmental delay, ADD, ADHD. No, they're all manifestations and symptoms of children with autism at a certain age. The younger child might have serious feeding difficulties. The older infant would have tremendous problem with constipation, serious difficulty with sleep. That's not a sleep disorder, that's very much part of autism. So I urge people not to get hung up, not to walk away from the doctor's office with a diagnosis of a symptom carried as a diagnosis. You must ask, why does my child not sleep? Every child should sleep. A 2.5-year-old should sleep 9, 10 hours. This guy does not. You have to understand why not. So I have now noticed over the last 20 years, there is tremendous confusion with the way people read their material regarding all of these, what I call comorbidities, or basically the symptoms of a very complex, biologically determined behavioral disorder called autism. Therefore, as you learn about autism for your own child, please ask question. Is it simply not a symptom? Should I kill myself trying to do the biomedical treatments, or should I spend all my resources on the treatment of the core problem in autism, which is it's a social communication disorder? How do I make my child a socially communicative being so he would have a life?
I want you guys to look at something. And I thank you for listening to him because we're going to talk about it. But I want you to look at something. Carrie and Amelia, look at the sign that the doctor is sitting next to. Let me read off some of what's on there. It says Asperger's syndrome, anxiety, autism, Tourette syndrome. Okay? It says attention deficit, attention hyperactivity disorder, attention deficit disorder. And there's one more I couldn't read. But it's interesting how all of those different
It looks like anxiety, I think, is the
syndromes
other.
or anxiety, yes. All of those different syndromes and disorders, what do they all have in common? They have one word in common. I'm waiting for one of you to say it. What's the one thing they all have in common?
Starts with the letter A, basically.
No.
No?
No. That's nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Here's what they all have in common. They're all behavioral. Every one of them. They are all behavioral.
Yeah.
Not one of those, not one single disorder on that big sign. Not one is physical. Not one is mental, exclusively mental, but it has mental elements of it.
I see. And that's where the schools can benefit from. Everything there.
There you go. Every one of them is behavioral. Okay? Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. This guy is remarkable. I love this doctor.
So giving him antifungal therapy, antibacterial therapy, macrobiotic diet, multivitamin ingestion.
Do you hear what he just said? Where'd you hear that before? You want to know where you heard it? Right here from Kukli. Okay? That's where you heard it. Changing her diet saved her life.
Yes.
She's eating natural. She's eating organic. She's doing supplements. She's doing
vegetables
God,
and
let's see
things
what else.
like
What was
that.
the other thing she says? Here, Kukli, you're with us. Schools teach lies. That's what they teach. They teach lies. And that's what we were talking about that. They lie to you to get your money.
Oh, absolutely they do.
Listen to Dr. Ram.
Secretin, horseback riding therapy, and these will not affect autism. Your knowledge, how to understand why he behaves in the manner he does, how you decontaminate those behaviors, how you handle his anxiety disorder and his mood dysfunction will make you a successful parent where you could take your child and graduate him from high school. He would still be autistic, but he's employable and he will have a life.
Absolutely
Did
correct.
you hear that?
Yes.
He'll be employable and he'll have a life.
Mm-hmm.
You can live with autism, but if you let the school system and the government into your life, your child will be institutionalized before they're 20.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed it.
Yep.
Okay?
Let the
Guaranteed
government
it.
control it and control them. They
They
will be.
don't want you. They don't want you.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it slowly. They don't want you to educate yourself,
No.
especially people in the South. They want to keep you dumb, hillbilly, and stupid.
Yeah.
Okay?
True.
And I'm sorry, folks, but I'm just going to say it the fucking way it is.
It's
Okay?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just going to say it the fucking way it is because that's the
Mhm.
way it is.
It's true though.
Cooley says urine therapy.
Yeah,
Why is that?
absolutely.
Why is urine therapy important? I'm going to tell you why. Because your urine contains so much toxicity. When you take a piss,
Mhm.
you're literally getting rid of all that stuff in your body
Mhm.
that's been building up, all that the sickness, illness, all the germs, all the crap that goes with it. Your body does two things. It ingests, it digests, and it expels. Okay? It eats, it digests the food and
Mhm.
liquid, and it expels it out.
Yep.
Okay? That's what it does.
Yes.
That's all it does. That's all it does.
Mhm.
But while it's doing this, if you are a person with autism, it's affecting everything that affects you. You understand that?
Oh
Mhm.
yes, it does. Everything you put in your body is hurting your body until you, like you
It
said.
can, it certainly can, but by the same token, Amelia, and
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that up. It's a good point. By
Mhm.
the same token, anything that you put in your body can help your body
Mhm.
if you put the right stuff in it.
Exactly.
And I'm not suggesting that you start, mega doses of vitamins
No,
by any stretch.
because it
That's
depends on the
You know,
vitamins too.
when I say if you have an ear infection, put piss in your ear. It goes away. I'm sorry.
the other
Mhm.
thing that urine is important for,
Nasty.
it contains the essence of stem cells.
Mhm.
Now, what are stem cells? Stem cells are the building block of the body.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's what can heal. It's what helps grow. It's what helps deliver us from
Mhm.
all kinds of sickness, all kinds of pain. Um, it contains pain blockers. Stem cells are the essence, the building blocks of DNA.
Mhm.
In fact, DNA can't exist without a stem cell.
Yeah.
You know, they can become. She says
Oh yes.
there's cells that can become anything. You're absolutely right, and as I just explained it.
Mhm.
They can do anything you want them to do. Literally anything you want them to do.
Mhm.
Um, so let me bring my girls up here.
Mhm.
Amelia, I'm going to bring you up here.
Mhm.
Um, put you in the big camera. Then I'm gonna put Carrie up on the big camera. Um, so what did you glean from what Doctor Ram uh Kareem Rakim? I can't.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Doc.
Right.
Can't pronounce your name.
Mhm.
I call him Doctor Ram. So
Yeah, that's good.
what did you glean by what Doctor Ram said?
Basically, he pretty much told us right to the point that if you do this correctly, if you cough, like he was saying that he was explaining, if you cough, this is a cough. If you do this, this is a how you. If
No, it's
you
not what he was explaining.
well,
Carrie,
go ahead.
tell everybody what he was doing.
He was explaining symptoms
Mhm.
versus actual diagnosis.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Simple as that.
Mhm.
He was explaining symptoms versus diagnosis.
Mhm.
For
Here's
instance,
the problem.
versus common cold.
Here
That's
Yeah.
is the problem. The biggest problem is that people are diagnosing autism that shouldn't be diagnosing autism.
Right.
because we don't know what autism is yet.
No, not yet.
We know it's behavioral.
Right.
That's all we know. We know that there's some connection to the brain, and that's all we know. We don't know the depth or extent or the length of time that one has to be associative with autism to affect the mental state. We don't know any of that.
No.
So what do we know? We know it's behavioral. That's for damn sure. We know that.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Listen to Dr.
sometimes,
Ram. Amelia, pay attention to this. Watch.
Speech disorder, speech delay, speech apraxia, developmental language disorder, expressive language disorder, or sensory issues, sensory integration disorder, etc., etc. But nowadays, what I tell people is autism is a behavior disorder. It is predominantly a disorder of regulation. Autistic children do not regulate their ability to eat, behave.
Did the doctor just confirm what I said a moment ago?
Mm-hmm.
It's regulatory. It's behavioral.
right.
If you regulate the behavior, you regulate the disease. How do you do that? I got a woman in a chat room named Kukli that gave you 1,000 examples of how you do that. She's the kind of woman I'd like to have on this panel because she knows her shit. Amazing. Listen to this doctor. I love this guy.
Eliminate, meaning number 2, stool, or any of the so-called activities a child automatically learns as he gets older. So he may have the ability, but he does not regulate his behavior. That also applies to sleep. They do not know how to regulate their sleep. They don't understand its sleep time. So the comorbidities in children have mostly to do with life every day. Eating, sleeping, toilet, because it's an extraordinary disorder of regulation of normal bodily activities.
Are you hearing what he's saying? Regulating normal bodily activity. It's all repetition, behavior. If you teach a child in the way he should go, he will go.
Right.
Okay? Where have you heard that before? From the Bible. Jeez, imagine that. Okay?
And expected behavioral features. So I now put them in the terms of regulatory disorder to make people understand the intellect may be there, the IQ is there, eventually he may do well if he would only learn to regulate his body and his behavior.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Remarkable. Okay, so tell me, Amelia, what did he say?
Well, regulate his sleep time. Make sure he has goes to bed at a certain time every night. Make sure he's fed at a certain time every day. Of course, have a certain time that he plays. Like we did, we had a strict
So
structured
what's he
environment.
saying
Right?
in a nutshell? Tell me what he's saying in a nutshell.
Make sure that he has a strict structured environment at home. Or
Exactly.
Not strict,
Exactly. Hello.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Behavior modification.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what we
I'm
did.
proud of you, kid.
We had
You're
a
doing good.
time that he would go to bed at a certain time every night. A certain time, I would make sure that he ate his supper every night. That's what we did. We always had
All right,
supper at a certain
now,
time, like that.
Carrie,
Yes.
it's you up in the hot seat, baby. There you go.
Structure.
How can you not love Carrie? She's married to a guy who calls himself the Dirt Digger. Okay, come on.
And I look like a clown. No, I'm kidding.
And she's got red hair, like literally.
Oh,
like
it was darker,
pink
not
and
too
red
long ago.
and white.
It's pink.
It's pink.
Something.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
And she says, "I'm also very psychic. I absorb energies."
I'm all
Kukli, send your email address to Amelia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this, but I am a psychic.
Yes, he is.
That's legit. Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Carrie. Continue.
You didn't ask me anything.
Oh, I wanted you
He's
to
psychic,
comment
right?
on the doctor.
I'm confused about what
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye. No, I wanted you to comment on the doctor.
So okay, so let me give an example. Kind of like my daughter, right? So she's used to, yes, structure in school, but she is used to structure at home too. So,
Right?
for instance, if her schedule gets thrown off, like for any reason, she's like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's like a Energizer bunny all over the place. So she
Yeah.
has to have that certain thing going on. Now, since she's a little older, it's a little different. But when she
Yeah.
was no, if we missed dinner time,
Yeah.
she didn't like it. She got mad. If she didn't get the exact amount of time on the computer she had every day, she would get upset. If she didn't do this like she did every day, she would do this. She was expecting that to happen every single day. So once they get a pattern and they get used to it, if it gets broken,
They're
there's
like,
it's like
yeah.
no, there's no stability there. There's
Mhm.
nothing there. There's no structure.
You're absolutely right.
Same
You're
thing with
absolutely right.
Carly.
Yeah.
Little Carly's too. But she is used to her schedule every day. So let me tell you what that is. We go to bed at night.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to bed with me. She waits for her dad to get home. She will not go to sleep without her dad being home.
There you
It's
go.
used to it. So we wait for him. She'll go to sleep. I get up and go to work in the mornings. She gets up with me. She gets breakfast. She gets her sippy cup with milk. She gets her TV turned on. When I take lunch break, she eats her lunch and she
Yep.
knows every day. Same thing. If I'm late for her lunch break or her food for lunch, oh, she has a fit. Um, she knows when dinner time is. She knows when bath time is. She knows, so she's so used to it. If I break that and I'm late or I'm early to do it, she's unexpected. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, she's two, so she can't tell time, but she,
Yeah.
They know. They really
you
do.
know,
They know about that
They
age.
absolutely know.
they know.
As I said, there's a fine line
Yeah.
between brilliance and insanity.
It is. Yes.
There's also a fine line between autism and living a very nice, decent, normal life.
Yeah.
Even with autism, you can live a nice, decent, normal
Yes.
life. It's
True.
all a matter of structuring how you live, what you do, when you do it, who you do it with, or for, or to. Do
Mhm.
you understand?
Oh, yes. It just
Watch
depends.
this. This is Dr. Ram again. This is the last video you're going to see. But you're going to see this doctor do something I've never seen any doctor do. He's going to admit he was wrong. Watch this.
I have now encountered several children who are now already 18 or 20 that I diagnose as autism, but the psychiatrist may have carried them as ADD, ADHD at the age of 10, may have carried them as a labile mood disorder at 12 or 13, major depressive disorder at 17 or 18. But now the child is already 20, the mother and the child are in front of me. I go back to get history of what he was like at 2, 5, and 7. I make a diagnosis of autism, and I say, this autistic child of yours, now 20, had this when he was 2, this when he was 5, and he was hyperactive, diagnosed as ADHD, diagnosed as mood disorder, subsequently diagnosed as bipolar disorder. But in fact, these are all manifestations of the condition he all along had. But what is the mother supposed to do? When he was 2, she went to a pediatrician. When he was 7, she had moved to another town. When he was 12, he went to a therapist. When he was 14, he went to a psychiatrist. Is she supposed to keep that together? She's not the professional. But if the community understands it, if the medical community understands that a child who is diagnosed to be autistic at 20 may have gone through all of those, we will raise our awareness of identifying the 5-year-old who has those symptoms. Oh, my goodness, could he be autistic with this symptom? Well, we are nowhere near that.
Now, are you hearing what he's saying? It's remarkable. Carrie, let's I'm going to keep Doctor where he is right now. We're going to go right back to him, but I want to bring you up here because you've got a lot more practical experience with this than Amelia does from a
My,
child raising standpoint.
yeah.
No, it's true, Amelia.
Yeah, because I
I'm
was
not.
I had the ADHD part. You had, you know.
Oh, this
Yeah.
she a lot of things they say.
What by ADHD part? She means I have to work with Angelo.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's OCD, not ADHD.
Oh.
Yeah, this is true too. I will not deny it. I will not deny it.
Oh.
He agrees.
So let's talk about right. It's probably true, I mean, I've never been diagnosed, but I might be a little, myself. But I digress. I'm going to go see Carrie's doctor. No.
I have OCD. That's truth.
So
I
let's
think we all
talk
do a
about
little
what
bit.
Doctor. By the way, his name is Dr. Ram Karam.
Karam, yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
Karam.
I
Yeah.
think that's Karam.
Is that how you say it? Karam?
I think so.
Karam.
Yeah.
Karam.
Yeah.
I finally got it right. It took me the whole show to get it right, but I got it right. Here's the thing. Let's talk about what Dr. Ram said.
Okay.
He confirmed everything we talked about. He also said, I've diagnosed children with autism that were ADHD, attention deficit, Asperger's, hyperactivity disorder. He said, you heard him say that, but you also heard him say, here's how to deal with it. Like Amelia said a moment ago, structured environment, behavior modification, repetitive behavior. The same repetitive behavior that's bad for them can be turned into something good. We talked a moment ago or earlier in the show, actually, about this young man I saw on TikTok he had to have these glasses because they were like the comforting thing for him, right? Some people it's a blanket, some people it's a stuffed animal. He had to have those glasses. They were comforting. If you can replace that comfort mechanism with something else, he won't need that teddy bear or those glasses or the blanket, It's all a matter of changing the child or adult's perspective.
Right.
Changing their mental outlook to adjust to their new behavior.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor, folks, but this is common sense shit. But I sure sound like a fucking doctor right now. Right. But this is all common sense. The problem is, here's the biggest problem. And Carrie, you dealing with this every day, you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. The biggest problem is the medical community and schools love to complicate shit. They don't want anything simple.
Nope.
They want it to be complicated and complex and deep and heady. Why? So that you'll be confused, you won't know what questions to ask, and you'll just take their word for it.
And to deal with it with medication.
And that's what they do, Amelia. That's what they do.
That's the only way they want to deal with it is with medication. And also,
they're hard to understand.
Oh,
Coakley makes a valid point, Amelia and Carrie. Coakley makes a very valid point. Some mental illnesses come from past life trauma. What about these kids who have witnessed the father beating up the mother, or witnessed the mother killing the father, or witnessed a family tragedy? Kids, They're like sponges. They absorb. I wrote a book. I've written 2 books in my life, and they're both available. I've written a book called Psychic Fingerprints. Okay. And I've written a book called Stay Tuned. All right. These books talk about, and I talk about it in these books, about how what we do affects everything and everybody around us. It's the same thing with our kids. You
Yes.
can't change that.
No.
Or the idea is they think you can't change it if you listen to the school system and the government and the doctors. Oh, you have to let us take care of it. We're the professionals. Bullshit, you are.
No, because they don't want us to do the research. They don't want us. They want us to believe them and do what they say because they're the ones that know everything. They don't want us to think that we're smart enough.
Kukli Kukli nailed it. We talked about it. There's no money in urine therapy.
That's true.
And good, and it should stay that way. Because guess what? If they haven't figured out a way to make any money off of it, they're not going to invest the time.
That's true.
That's why people like Kukli and others will do it themselves. Everything is connected.
Yep.
God is everything, and I believe Kukli. Now you're talking my language, sister. You are talking my language.
And what they don't tell you is also if you're going to pay attention to your child or if they want attention, don't give them attention the negative way. Give them attention the positive way.
Speaking of which,
I see children just being treated for those comorbidities or co-occurring symptoms and not arrive at the crux of the diagnosis, autism. And this happens because he has normal intellect. He's good at math and he's going through the grades, but his behavior sticks him out. And he's not having a good time in school. He's having serious social issues. He's being bullied. He's being called a nerd. He's being called oddball. So it's the parents must learn this material.
Do you hear what he said? The parents must learn to stand up.
Exactly.
Is what he said. That's the essence. That's why I love that doctor. Because she tells the truth. You know, and a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. It's an inconvenient truth. Well, guess what? You got 2 choices. You can live the way you're living. Let's see. What is this here? Oh, hold on. You should look into she's a regression therapist. I know. You know what? I don't put a lot of stock in regression therapy. I really don't because it's too easily contrived and faked. I have the proof, the data, and documentation to prove that. So you're not going to find me a big supporter of regression therapy in any form or fashion. I've done regression therapy. It's too easy to manipulate.
Right.
So, and we have to be very careful about junk science. And that's what Dr. Ram is warning everyone of. Junk science. Stay away from the junk. Don't believe what they tell you. Do your own research. Educate yourself, mom and dad. You understand? Do it yourself. On that note, we have to say goodnight. Let me see if we got anything left. Did I miss anything in the chat room? Double checking here. Let's see. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Okay, yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Use special interest to teach them. All the kind of stuff that we talked about, positive reinforcement, everything we talked about, you know? It's all connected. It's all a matter of just listening.
Just listening.
Kids, that's all.
Listen to
all right,
them.
Amelia, what's coming up tomorrow night on the roundtable?
Tomorrow on our roundtable, we will be discussing the Georgia Guidestones. We, for a while, thought that they were, were able to visit, and all of a sudden, we found out a few months ago that they were demolished because
the Georgia Guidestones were blown up about around
in July.
July of 22.
Yeah, by
We have some interesting information as to, I've the last couple of days I've played connect the dots,
yeah, and we're gonna give you
and
more
these
details
dots
tomorrow.
seem to hold on, Amelia.
Mhm.
These dots seem to connect to a woman in Georgia who ran for governor.
Oh yes.
A bit of a fucking kook, a religious zealot for sure,
Yep.
at the very least. We are going to talk to Guidestones tomorrow night. Kookley, I'd like to invite you to join us for tomorrow night's show. I will send you a link and I will get you in like Flynn. I'll take care of you, okay? For sure.
Yes.
So let me know if you want to join me.
And on Tuesday next week, we're going to have a little bit of a great show. I'm not going to give you too much detail right now because we'll actually let you know Friday, and then a little bit more advertising, a little bit more, because it's going to be a great show Tuesday. So it's going to keep it a secret for
Well,
now.
I'm going to tell them.
Really, right now?
Yeah, I'm going to tell them right now.
All
We're
right.
going to expose Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for the piece of shit he really is.
Yep.
Yep.
That's a
You heard it.
big story.
That's me. I love The Rock. Not no more.
You know why I did that? Because I wanted to give you the pleasure to do it.
Sure you did.
I did.
You're so full of shit, please. Give me
Oh,
a break.
come on. You know you wanted
Oh
to
my
say it.
God, you are so full of shit. You are such a bullshitter. Get the fuck
Hey,
out of here.
you wanted me to
You
be a
are
Miss
such a
Tuffy on the
We're
show.
bullshitter.
That's
changing
what
her
I'm going to
name.
be
It's
doing.
no longer the Pitbull. It's called the Bullshitter.
Yeah.
Hey, you wanted me to be more tough on the
Amelia
show,
the
so
Bullshit
that's why.
Chapman.
And then on the
She
27th,
knows who the Mad Dog is. I
yeah,
made her the pit bull.
You're
I
gonna
made her the pit bull.
and he wanted me to be more tough on the show, so
We
that's why
are
I'm
going
going.
to expose Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for the dirtbag he really is.
He
Right.
wanted
We're
to
going
do
to
this.
find out what The Rock really has behind that smile, that $1 million smile. Well, guess what, folks? Come to find out that golden smile is quite tarnished. Quite tarnished. And we're going to dig into it Tuesday night.
Yes.
Next Wednesday, Amelia, what you got going on?
Bipolar disorder. We're going to talk about that.
You and Carrie, and I am out of that one. And they are going, thank God. Thank God he's out of that one. And Thursday on the round table, we're going to discuss the news of the week and everything that happened on our shows. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Carrie, the Panda Queen Jeffries, for Amelia, the Pit Bull, I need to study my autism, Chapman. I am Angelo, the Mad Dog DeCipio.
Yeah, I'm making a Mad Dog.
Goodbye. Will you shut up? I'm trying to sign off. Oh, my God. Good night, folks. I'm going to have to talk to these two. Take care.